Okay, so Ashlynn,
Yes.
will you please share? This will be the beginning for everybody. Will you please share your creative journey, how you got started, and where you're at now?
Okay. My creative journey. I mean, I've loved music my whole life. Have been singing since I can remember. And when I was probably like 15 or 16 is when I first started writing music. I was learning piano. Not really because I wanted to, but the lady that I was going to take lessons, she was like, you have songs in you that you're supposed to write. And I went for voice lessons, and she was like, you're learning keys too. And so I learned just enough to like write music. And so that's kind of where I got started with writing. And then I always wanted to play guitar, and I'd kind of like played around on it. And while I was out in California, I stayed out there through the summer and was just having like a really difficult time. And most days from like sun up to sundown, I pretty much would just play guitar if I wasn't like working or going somewhere else. And so I kind of transitioned into playing guitar, and that just opened up a whole other side of like music and sounds and melodies and things like that. And so does that answer the question?
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Is that also, maybe this is redundant, but how did you discover your love of music and writing? Is that kind of the same answer?
Yeah, I mean, I've loved music my whole life, but I think like my taste in music and stuff has developed as like life has gone on. I think just as I've experienced more things in life, it just like you appreciate different music more, and you like you understand it more. I think it's amazing how you can listen to a song in one season of your life and it mean one thing, and then you come back to that song years later after you've experienced things in your own life, and all of a sudden you're like hearing it with new ears and you get something completely new out of it. And so I think like I've always loved music, but I've just appreciated it more and more as life has gone on.
That's cool. Will you talk a little bit about your process? Like when you write a song, a poem, or a spoken word, how does it come about? Does it hit you all of a sudden, or do you work on it like little by little?
Both. And like, I don't know. I heard someone talking about how like you learn the rules in music so that you can break them. And so like I've just tried to keep an open hand as far as like I used to be trying to like drill in what is my sound, and well, this doesn't fit my sound, so I need to write this over here. And as I've like grown more in writing, I've just kind of been like, I'm just gonna write whatever comes my way. Like if I'm inspired by this, like recently I wrote like this little European Italian sounding song. It was completely random, but I came across it in my phone voice memos, which record everything like that. I record everything all the time because you never know when you're going to go back through and be inspired by something. But like I wrote this little random Italian song, and then like I wrote a punk rock song once, and I don't even like punk rock, and so but I like the song. And so it's just like I feel like you just have to be faithful to steward whatever you're given, and then you just kind of like put them in these different categories, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I have a cluster of songs in this same genre. And I don't know, it's just like be faithful to steward whatever you're given. But as far as like the process, that varies. When I'm writing music, like a lot of times it starts on guitar because I'm really inspired by like melodies, and so I'll start playing something on guitar, and then I'll just start singing around. But I'm a moron, and just like all through the day, like if I'm driving or whatever, like I'm always just like, you know, just like making different noises and stuff, and I'm just constantly like recording that stuff in my phone, and like you look like an idiot, but you go back through your voice memos and you're like, oh, this like melody vocally goes perfect with this guitar thing I've been playing around with, and you just kind of like can go back through this reservoir of ideas that you have.
I think that's when you said stewarding your gift. I think that's something that we've all talked about a lot, is just God has given you this stuff, and it's like the question is, what are you going to do with it? And so that, I love that point. Okay, so this is kind of a different question. I know that you operate in spontaneous worship at times, and that includes basically writing lyrics on the spot, you know, in a public setting on the fly. Can you describe that and what's going on when that happens?
Yeah, I would. Well, first, I think there's a difference. Like, there's spontaneous worship, and then there's prophetic worship, and that's like when you're like tapping into like what the Lord is saying in that moment. Like, I would say that's prophetic worship, and I think like spontaneous worship opens the door for prophetic worship. So spontaneous is still like, it's your words, and I would say you're just like partnering with the Lord in that moment. And so it's like you're constantly crafting your gift off the stage. And so when you're on the stage in that moment, like, you are thinking things on the spot. And so like my brain just kind of works that way in general, just putting like different lyrics and things together. And so it's just using your gift off the stage and using it in that moment with the Lord and saying, okay, I'm going to partner with him right now. And you can kind of just come up with like this little song. But the majority of the time when I come up with a song like that, I'll find that it like opens the door to then something that I start singing about that I had no clue was even on my radar. And I'm all of a sudden like, oh, this is where we're going. And I find direction in that. But the spontaneous worship of just, okay, I'm stepping out of the boat and I'm going to start walking, and I don't know where we're going to end up. But then like you start actually walking on the water and you're like, oh, this isn't where I thought I'd go, but this is where we are.
Very cool. All right, last one for you. I know that you said that writing is one of the most natural ways that you connect with the Lord. Can you kind of explain what that means?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just, it like I said before, it's just kind of how my brain works. So anyone who knows me knows that like I overthink things and I'm constantly like analyzing stuff. And I think that's what I love about like writing, whether it's music or spoken word or poem or whatever it is. It's like free game. Like, you can think as much as you want, and it's actually productive. You know, you're not just thinking in circles. You get to end with this, look, I made this from thinking. And and so it's just like, it's the way my mind works. It feels like a puzzle or something that you're putting together, like with music, you know. You're just coming up with the melody over here and the words over here, and the end result may look different than you initially thought it would, but it's just the way that my mind works. And so I just like, the Lord speaks to me through that, and it helps me like process what's going on in me, what's going on in the world around me, and it just kind of helps me shut off my brain with all the other things that's going on and just like zone in to what's going on in me, like with the Lord. And everyone has, it's like a language that we speak. And so for me, I feel like it's music and writing. And for someone else, it may be gardening, or help me, what's pottery. It may be drawing, you know, like just whatever outlet it is. It's like, just figure out what your language is, and the Lord knows how to speak that with you. And so when you like tap into that, it's just, I don't know, it's just natural to connect with him.
That's really good. That's a great ending. Awesome. Thank you.